Two wins on the bounce in the past week has seen Rovers move back into the playoff places in Sky Bet League One. The 1-0 win at Portsmouth was followed up emphatically on Tuesday night with a commanding 4-1 victory over a previously unbeaten Ipswich Town side, and now the attention turns to a game against Crewe Alexandra, who lie 14th in the table at present. It's Doncaster Rovers against Crewe Alexandra from 3 p.m. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Keepmoat Stadium, and thank you for joining us ahead of our pre-match build-up for the game against Crewe Alexandra in Sky Bet League One. Joining me this afternoon, I'm delighted to say once again, the Doncaster Rovers reporter for the Free Press, Liam Hoden, and host of the 18 Dapper channel on YouTube, Dan Pearson. Dan, I wanted to start with you on the back of a really positive start to the season for Rovers. 4 wins from 6. How do you assess where things are at the minute?
Yeah, it's a great start. The blip at Wigan, I think it was a blip. The performance was there, just that ruthlessness was missing, and I think we've seen that especially on Tuesday night against a very good Ipswich team, previously unbeaten, and watching it on Tuesday night we were a different level, and I think the new additions have added to that. Very positive and optimistic for the season so far.
How much of a statement do you think it was to do that to Ipswich? I think going into it, they saw it as their most difficult game of the season, but it was, I think, most definitely Rovers' most difficult on paper as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. They were at the top of the table, and when you're at the top of the table, you're there to be hit at. And I think Darren Moore's tactics were just spot on the night, and it just showed with the pressing, the enthusiasm in the squad. And I think Fajiri, got to say, a big well done to him. Out of the team at the start of the season, but he's got his chance now, working really, really hard. So happy that he's got his goal as well. We
had you on before the start of the season, the first game against MK Dons. Overall, the way you expected the first 6 games to go, is this much better than you might have expected?
Yeah, a lot better. I think before the start of the season, I was kind of in the same boat as a lot of pundits. I thought we may have been an outside chance for playoffs, but we're proving a lot of people wrong, including myself, and I hope that continues.
What do you make to the rotation that Darren Moore's got in place as well? Obviously, it's a different schedule than the one we've been used to in recent years. Games coming thick and fast. What do you make to the way he's managed to sort of keep players happy while also making changes as well?
Yeah, like I said, his tactics have been spot on so far in pretty much every game. The rotation needs to be there so that players are fresh. We've had a lot of time off since the curtailment of last season, and we've got the options this season that we've not had in previous seasons. I think a lot of players are fighting for the position, and that's good to see.
Liam, the game against Crewe is Rovers' 3rd of 6 in 18 days. We mentioned that fixture pile up there ahead of a lovely trip to Plymouth on Tuesday night. What's Darren Moore's message got to be to the players in making sure they're ready for every game coming around?
They've got to recover right. That's a big thing, and there's a lot of onus on them and what they're doing when they go away from the training ground and things like that. That recovery is key to make sure that they are in decent condition when they come to play this next game. It's going to be so demanding. That rotation that we spoke about, definitely going to be needed. But I thought the signs on Tuesday night, having come off the back of a really energy-sapping game last Saturday at Portsmouth, and another one, probably on another level, but towards the end of the game, the energy levels were still really, really high, which is a good sign going into this really, really busy period.
The one we've seen most often in rotation is Cameron John and Reece James. Darren tends to, it is horses for courses, isn't it? When it's a team who might be a bit more physical, you tend to see Cam come in, whereas if Rovers are going to see a bit more of the ball, Reece plays, and it's not a bad option to have for him.
Not a bad option at all. It's difficult to get used to, and you see people are saying, after that brilliant performance from Reece James last week at Portsmouth, him not being in the side on Tuesday night, a lot of people questioning that. But Darren Moore has his methods, and we've seen that, and horses for courses, very much the mantra that he approaches a game with.
Now again, it's disappointing that fans aren't here at the Keepmoat Stadium this afternoon, but if you haven't already, make sure you purchase your match pass on iFollow. Just £10 to watch full exclusive coverage of the game, commentary for the whole 90 minutes. Of course, season ticket holders as well will get their unique code sent to them, and just put that in on the website and get yourself set, ready for the 3 p.m. kickoff. But for now, let's look back at Rovers' last encounter here at the Keepmoat, a brilliant 4-1 victory over Ipswich Town.
Goal for the Rovers, scored by number 8, Ben Whiteman.
Liam, that victory against Ipswich on Tuesday night, not only for this season, but in terms of victories under Darren Moore so far in his reign, where does that rank for you?
It's got to be right up there. I always go back to that game at Peterborough last season, which were outstanding, that 3-0 win down there. But I think in terms of where the opposition were coming into that game on Tuesday night, magnificent. And now the game started as well, and the demands of what that game required for Rovers to come out on top, the work so hard when they didn't have the ball, and then in the second half just took complete control. It was just a pleasure to watch.
Dan, how impressed were you with the response to going behind? Of course, an unfortunate own goal from Joe Wright. I think if he'd not have scored that, Freddie Sears probably had a tap in at the back stick anyway. But I think within 20 minutes, Rovers had gone from being a goal down to 2-1 up. So it shows that the character within the group as well.
Yeah, I think Liam just touched on it, and yourself as well. Joe had to do something with that, and unfortunately, as a defender, if you get a touch on it, generally it goes in the back of the net. I think Freddie Sears would have put it away behind him, but the response from that was fantastic to go in at half-time 2-1 up and then put the game to bed in the second half. It was brilliant to see.
Ipswich had a bit of the ball in the second half, but they never really troubled Rovers, did they? And I don't think it was a case of them playing particularly badly, but as you said, Rovers off the ball were brilliant. Every time a ball was loose, they seemed to win it.
Certainly did, and it were from the front as well. The hard work, and we were spoken about Okenabiri and what he put in on Tuesday night. But that back line that Rovers have got, it's incredible in terms of how strong they are. That were a difficult test on Tuesday night because they've not got an out-and-out striker at Ipswich. 3 dynamic forwards coming up against him, and you can often get caught out in that situation. But Rovers never really looked like getting caught out at all. The
reaction of the bench when Fahiri Okenabiri fired that fourth one in, I think, summed it all up. There's been maybe a bit of frustration in himself in not getting that league goal under his belt, but his all-round performances have been very good throughout the season so far.
They have, and you could tell a little bit when they were coming on that there were a little bit of rust there. We didn't see any rust on Tuesday night when he put that chance away. But for someone who works that hard, everybody, when he finally gets that breakthrough, everybody's going to be delighted because he puts that shift in, and and it's not like he's one of those forwards that's absolutely desperate to score and they're just trying everything and they forget what the other responsibilities. He takes care of his initial responsibilities off the ball and in holding up, and then when the chances come, he can take them.
I think the fans have sort of wanted him in, haven't they, from the start of the season, given his pre-season form and the flash we saw last season down the couple of goals before the lockdown came. But with a former Tyrese John Jules, he had to be really patient, Okenabiri, didn't he, before he got his chance? Yeah,
he did have to be patient, and now he's got that chance, so hopefully he takes it. And as Liam said, the work rate outside of being kind of a goal scorer is clear to see, and I don't think it's that too big a deal if he doesn't score, because we're getting goals from all over the pitch at the minute, so we're not relying on that one player.
Now, we've been asking fans on social media to get in touch. Paul on Twitter responded to Josh Sims being named man of the match against Ipswich and said, "Watch the game last night, what a turn of pace, would be a great addition if we could get him in January." I think people are so keen already, aren't they, to see him stay. We had Thomas as well praising Okenabiri, again hoping we can extend Josh Sims' loan from Southampton, and it shows already what sort of impact he's had.
It's incredible, really, and I think that initial impact at Portsmouth, setting up that chance and that bit of a flash that we saw from him down there, he just carried that into Tuesday and never really looked back. So quick, that run to win the penalty were incredible, and the strength in that as well to also get in front of NCR, who was a big tough centre half. It were excellent, and he looks a very exciting player. People love pacey wingers. People, you can see it with the reaction that John Taylor's had as well since he's arrived. People love him, and you can understand exactly why people are so excited about Josh Sims.
We've also had Kevin, who sent in a picture of his friend Sam and said, "Is it Josh Sims lookalike?" There is a bit of a resemblance there, isn't there, between the two? So brilliant from him. Don't forget, you can email media at Club Doncaster and get your thoughts in ahead of the next home game against Lincoln City. But looking ahead now, Darren Moore, of course, treats every game with its own unique prospect. And here are his thoughts on going up against David Artell's Crewe side this weekend.
Crewe are a wonderful footballing team. They've got a lovely DNA. They've always had it at the club for many, many seasons. and that's no surprise to us. You know, they play some wonderful stuff. Dave's got them playing a certain way and a certain brand, and we know it's going to be another tough game because we know they've tasted success coming out of League Two into League One, and you know they'll come with their own strengths to present to us, and again, you know, as a group. We know on Saturday we've got to be our best again. You know, the game's gone in the weeks what we've had now. We've got to dust ourselves down and get ready again for another tough game. We know that Faye can score goals. I think the most pleasing thing for me for Faye was 2 parts. He worked his absolute socks off for the team, which you know you expect. But I thought his hold-up play was very, very good and it gave us something to build off. So when you got those aspects in a player was working as hard as he is, any striker will tell you that they want to score goals. So for him, he showed good composure and it was a lovely left foot finish. Struck the ball away from the goalkeeper, which he was in total control of the moment, and really pleased to see him on the score sheet.
So Darren Moore there looking ahead to this weekend's game. On paper, it's the most winnable of Rovers' last 3 games, but how important is it that they take this one just as serious as the previous 2, Liam?
You've got to. Each team in this division presents different challenges, and there were very, very few easy games. You can come up against an opposition that's not quite as strong, but the kind of test that they pose you in terms of unlocking them, we saw that last season on a few occasions. It can be very, very difficult, and you can easily be caught out. The thing about it is, and you can tell not only from what Darren Moore says, insisted it's one game at a time, the players say it as well, and the players consistently say it and don't get carried away. So they'll be fully focused on this one today. His message never really seems to change, Dan, does it? I'm sure watching on iFollow or however you get the latest news from Darren Moore, it might be frustrating at times, but it's drilled into the players as well, isn't it? Next game, and that seems to be the mantra throughout.
Yeah, I think it's a good philosophy to have, and like you say, it's drilled into the players, so if it's going from top and that message is filtering all the way down, it's a good message.
When you're interviewing Darren, do you sometimes want him to tell you a bit more? But of course it's working so well that the fact he doesn't give much away, it is sort of a recipe for success, isn't it? I'm sure as journalists you're all keen to hear him say more and more each time, but it seems like the way he goes about his business is just a recipe for it going well.
It is, and he's no different in front of the camera as he is away from the camera. You speak to him, he might get a little bit more excited than he perhaps suggests sometimes, but very much the focus is on the next game and not looking too far ahead. It keeps you on your toes as a journalist because you know you can't ask the questions that you would normally ask because you're not going to get you're going to get the same answer that you got before. So it does help you a little bit, keep you on your toes.
In terms of Crewe, 14th in the table, a game in hand. Of course, they've had their problems this season with COVID and such like a couple of teams have now in League One, but do you feel that 14th is a fair reflection of their start to the season so far?
I think they'll be quite happy with it. I think they're looking of the promoted teams, they're looking probably the strongest so far. It's obviously a long season to go, and we'll see what effect having these games pushed back will have on them going forward. But I think they'll be relatively happy with that and looking to kick on. They're a club again in development. They've had these waves. It's been a long time since we've seen an upsurge from them that we used to see on a regular basis when they were bringing players through. But this feels like sort of they are on that upward curve.
Dan, do you see this as a chance where, looking where Rovers are in the table, you have to be winning these types of games if you're serious about being at the right end at the end of the season?
Yeah, if you've got the expectations of being in top 6, I think newly promoted teams, you should be expecting to beat them. But like we mentioned, Crewe, they're a strong side. They've had a strong start to the season after being promoted. They don't concede many, but they've not scored many either this season. So I think it'll be down to our team and our setup to break that defence down today.
Of course, happy memories of facing Crewe here at the Keepmoat, way back in the Johnson's Paint Trophy area final. Of course, that comeback 2-0 down on the night, a 3-2 win. How do you look back on that night in particular?
Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it? Pricey, and that got us to winning some silverware as well, which was nice back at, was it Cardiff?
Cardiff.
Yeah. So yeah, good evening that one.
Now we had Andy Butler on the show on Tuesday night. He's been back in front of the camera later on this week discussing the close-knit environment that Darren Moore's put together within this Rovers squad.
The togetherness is a big thing. The philosophy that Gaffer and Sylvia brought to Doncaster Rovers has been excellent. I think they bring a real teamwork and demanding of each and every individual player, not just the 11 but the entire squad. each player is demanding more and more off the other one. The gaffer and Civian are managing players as individuals as well. It's not, although we're not in the starting 11 at the moment, the training sessions that they put on for the players that aren't involved have been excellent. The exact same detail that they want the first team to do, as well as the subs and the players that are on the bench. It's having the right character of player as well. I think we've got the right characters of player in the squad. So I'd say Cops, Ben, Tom, Joe, Brad, Reese, all and a lot of others that push each other. We've got a lot of players that are young in the group here, but you need some senior ones to help them along, and we've got a good mix. Coming back into the group now, you don't feel like you've been a part. You feel like you've still been part of the furniture there, which is easy to slip into. And like I say, hopefully all the players know that I'm approachable and easy to talk to, and if they need advice, I'm there for them. Same with Cops and same with everyone else in the squad. Hopefully, like I say, me and Cops have a combined age of a tortoise, so yeah, we can use our experience to help and guide the younger lads.
Good to see Andy Butler talking about the morale in camp there. Dan, what do you make to the sort of characters we've got now, the more experienced ones of Coppinger and Butler at one end, and then the youth of the likes of John Jules and Tulloch at the other? Yeah,
I think it's vitally important that Butler came in this summer. As you said, the experience and kind of that guidance for the young lads, and Coppinger as well is pretty long in tooth, isn't he? So I think the experience and the guidance that they can give the younger players is more important than I think we realise. Andy Butler hasn't managed to get out on the field in competitive action yet, Hodes, but how important is his figure around the training ground to help Tom and Joe and keep their standards high at the back?
It is in terms of that competition for places, because we know that Andy will be able to step in. We saw him in pre-season and he didn't look like he's missed a beat despite his kind of struggles last season away from the club. But that leadership as well. He's a natural leader. He's been a natural leader for a long time. And speaking to him earlier this week, he talked a lot about the advice that he does give, and he does speak to Tom and Joe as well, and it'll only help bring them on.
His experience around the place, but also with Darren Moore, I'm sure he's somebody who Darren Moore can lean on and maybe ask a bit of advice of about maybe personalities in the squad, although Darren will already know the ins and outs of every player in that team. How important can he be, Andy Butler, off the field as well as on it?
Massive. You need leaders in the dressing room, but you also need and managers need players that they can trust will be leaders, and so that stuff that needs to be sorted out, if there ever is anything, it doesn't even end up going up to the managerial level, because you've got players who can step in, and we know Andy Butler's somebody who will be more than capable of that.
When he re-signed in the summer, Dan, what were your thoughts on that? I think everybody expected him to come in as a squad player and be someone who would be around if Tom and Joe do suffer any injuries, but he's not a bad player to have to come in if and when needed. Yeah,
straight away I thought he's a good backup player. No two ways about it. Tom and Joe will be your starting centre-backs, especially if their form continues. Fantastic centre-back pairing, but hopefully not. If one of those gets injured, he's an excellent backup to have. Like Liam just said, he's a great leader off the pitch, but we've seen before in previous seasons that he's a good leader on the pitch as well.
And he mentioned in that little piece there that Jamie Smith and Darren treat even the players who aren't getting involved in the matchday squad exactly the same. They put on little sessions for them. Even, as we said, even if you're not going full tilt 90 minutes in games, you're still being asked the same questions every day on the training ground.
Yeah, and I think that backs up Darren Moore's assertions that it is a squad. It's going to be a squad, a season that's going to require all the squad involved. You never know when somebody's going to be needed to step in, and you don't want, and particularly somebody as meticulous with his preparation as Darren Moore, you don't want somebody coming in who's not up to speed, and that has shown from what Andy said that's kind of translated on the training ground as well.
And I think we've seen, haven't we, when players have come in who maybe haven't had as much game time. Okenabiri, we mentioned earlier, maybe it took him a couple of games to get into full stride, but his all-round performance was very good.
Yeah, that's it. But they know that there's a lot of information passed to these players, and they need to take as much of it on board and be able to translate that onto the pitch, and we have seen that in practice so far.
Players been busy on and off the pitch in recent weeks. Here's the latest episode of DDTV now as Kateri and Plarman interviewed John Taylor.
Yeah, so when you were at school, were you practicing just football for fun and then you became professional? Is that how you got into being a professional football player?
That's a great question. Yeah, of course, it all started as fun. I loved playing football. I enjoyed it every single day. I just wanted to play football because of the fun. And then when I got older, I got scouted for a football team, and then it became more serious after that. But the younger ages when I was playing all for fun was the best times. So if you do something that you enjoy doing, just do it all the time because it's so much fun.
Yeah, how do you learn how to do football tricks like balancing a ball on the back of your head or?
When I was younger, I actually used to go to a freestyle skill school. He was a lad, I think his name was Mikey Fisher. He used to do like skill schools after school. We used to go, and it was football, but like futsal as well. And he just always just do football skills, and I just always used to learn and practice them. Or watching on the telly, watching players like Cristiano Ronaldo, who does a lot of skills. Neymar, he always does a lot of skills, and just try to copy them.
Back onto the game against Crewe this afternoon, then we've mentioned already about gaining that momentum in the coming weeks. As we mentioned earlier on, 3rd of 6 in 18 days. If Rovers were to win today and put themselves even closer to the top two, what would that do for morale heading into the long trip to Plymouth on Tuesday?
In momentum terms, you think they'd be unstoppable after that, after a week like that. But there's so much going on in League One today. All the top teams are playing each other. So there was a real opportunity in table terms, and we know that people said that they don't look at the table at this stage of the season, but it does offer, when you look and see Rovers up there after 7-8 games, it is fantastic. I think another win, 3 in a row against 3 tough opposition, it would be massive.
Dan, at what point do you allow yourself to get excited by Rovers and by Rovers' start, and at what point does that start become a very good sort of opening third to the campaign, if you like?
I'm already excited. 7 games in, watching the team play, it's fantastic football to watch. But I think we mentioned it earlier, League One is a very tough league. It doesn't matter what opposition you come up against. Anybody on the day can beat anybody. So I think it is one game at a time, like Darren says, and like the squad have taken on board, one game at a time, and we'll see where we are after the 46 have been played.
3 games unbeaten at the Keep Moat already without fans. If we can manage to extend that unbeaten run and manage to make it something of a fortress, when fans do come back in, that should be a massive boost to Darren Moore's side.
It should, but I think it's on the fans to support the team. I think we've seen stray passes in recent games where the fans, because we've not been here, have not been able to kind of grumble about it.
Just shout at the TV instead.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the players brush that off a little bit quicker than when the pressure of the fans is there. So I think it is on the fans to actually support the team when we are back, and I can't wait until that day.
Have you noticed a more relaxed style to Rovers here at the Keep Moat, Liam? I think last season maybe more so when they were trying to play out from the back and get used to Darren Moore's system, there would be a bit of frustration amongst the fans, but this season there tends to be a little deep breath before every game, and they seem to just go about the business in fine style.
It's been fascinating really seeing how football has played out without fans in, and it feels, because you're hearing the messages and from the sidelines, you're hearing the messages from the back, it feels like things are a little bit more controlled, and you're not having that sort of the crowd interfering as much in terms of slowing things down. There does seem to be more confidence and a relaxation as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting when fans do come back to see the difference.
Prediction for this afternoon then?
I can't go anything other than a win. I know I went for a draw the other day, but I'll say 3-1.
Dan?
I'm echoing that. I went with 3-1. Mandron to score for them. I think very, very good player, but I think we're good enough to come away with a 3 points today.
Liam, Dan, thanks for your company, and thank you at home for watching as well. Head over to I Follow Rovers Now, full live and exclusive match commentary. It's Rovers against Crewe Alexandra from 3 p.m.
Rovers for all is simple.
If you are Rovers,
You are welcome.
football is everyone's game.
No matter who you are,
Who you love.
your race, or your faith, discrimination based on these characteristics is against the law.
And is not welcome at our football club.
We don't accept it in our stadium.
And we don't accept it online.
If you see the discriminatory language being used, Use the kick it out app to report it.
Together, we can kick it out of football.